Say is that we're so excited to be here, and we've been talking about this trip for quite some time. We've seen a lot of places around the world over the last few years, but there's been a lot of anticipation about coming to Israel. And I mean, from the minute we sat down on the plane, we were like a bunch of schoolboys, very excited to see this part of the world. We've heard so much about it, and so far it's been incredible.
So welcome to Israel. I'm Tal Perry from Globe's newspaper. And first, you were talking about your anticipation to come to Israel, but are you aware of the fact that one of the main reasons that the local promoters wanted you so much to perform here is because of the pressure of Israeli fans that say that we want to see them perform in Israel?
Yeah, we are aware that there have been quite a few people here that were outspoken about having us, and we're very grateful for that. That they made themselves very
heard.
Yes, we heard them loud and clear through Twitter and Facebook, and it's nice when people can make their voices heard, and they certainly did that here. So we are definitely here because of the fans. I think there has been a shift of power. There's been I think we're in the middle of a revolution, and we won't be, not until we have a great deal of hindsight will we see how intense the changes have been. The communication, the connectivity, the depth of the conversation that you can have directly with your audience, with your fans, with your family around the world is like nothing ever before. And we take full advantage of that. For us, we've always been interested in that conversation and breaking down boundaries and barriers between the band and the fans, and we happen to just be interested in that and curious. And I think that the lawsuit was an eye-opener for us. We certainly, it was much more than an argument for us. It was one of the defining elements of our entire career. I mean, Tomo is a wealthy man, but $30 million was a bit much for him to think about handling on his own. It was a pretty surreal and absurd battle, but important for us as well. And there's no mistake, this album is called This Is War for a reason. It was an intense time. Well, I would expect total fucking insanity, a bit of chaos, a lot of fun. We always talked about I think our biggest goal is to make sure that every single person that comes to this show for that couple of hours lives in a place as close to abandon as possible. I mean, this is about living dreams. It's about freedom. It's about
Just letting go.
Potential, about letting go, and it's about how much we all can achieve in those moments. And it's a time to set apart, and set aside our jobs and some of the problems we may have, or challenges in life. Jobs, family, stresses, politics, and to celebrate together. So we're looking forward to the celebration here. I think the most important thing to say about the name is that it really represents the sound of our music in a unique way. It's a name that makes people ask questions rather than giving answers. It's a name that's slightly lyrical and imaginative and different. And I would hope those terms describe our music as well. The last record, A Beautiful Lie, was certainly life-changing for us. It started us on a journey around the world. And we were introduced to a great deal of people. Hey, there's a bird in here. And I think this record really solidified a lot of things for us. And it's been incredible. I mean, the gifts that we've gotten from this album already have been numerous and mind-blowing. And
One of those gifts is to be able to come here and play a show. We're very excited and proud to be here. You know, never in the history of mankind has there been such a place, such a place in size that has been talked about so much around the world. So you have a lot to hear about all of the time, and of course, I think I don't know if I'm right or wrong about this, but there were 11 million. 7 million. Sorry. 4 million off.
Gross.
Maybe it's...
Give us time.
Yes, I'm getting...
It's a work in progress.
So 7 million. 7 million. But it seems like everywhere I go around the world I meet Israeli people.
Oh.
So, you know, it seems like there are 11 million. And we hear a lot of things about the country. I'm particularly interested in some of the history and the architecture and some of the things that I may get to go explore, whether it's Masada or seeing some of the other things like the Dead Sea. But Jerusalem is on the list, and Tel Aviv, and the people, and the culture, and the food, and things like that.
What about the heat?
It doesn't. I mean, we live in a desert anyway. We're from California. We live in Los Angeles, and you know, everyone at the airport was like, "Whoa, it's hot! It's hot! It's hot!" We came outside.
Many performers have canceled their concerts in Israel in the past year because of all sorts of political events. What do you think about that?
To each his own. I don't know. I can't comment because I'm not familiar with the specific acts that may or may not have canceled. But you know, I think that music is a conversation starter. Music is something that brings people together, and art. I should rephrase that and just say art does both of those things. And for us to come to any country in the world and to be able to do what we do is painting with sound and imagery, and I think is a good thing. So there wasn't a chance in hell that we were going to cancel our show.
Now, you seem to be one of fewer and fewer big bands in the world that still treats the media of video clip in a very serious way. I mean, you invest, or the people behind you invest a lot of money in creating very impressive clips. And, do you still believe the power of a video clip, and do you think that your background in motion pictures contribute to that notion of a video must look as impressive as possible to have an effect?
Well, I think it's just personal choice, and I started as a film student. I studied film before I was making films, way before I was an actor, and I was making music before that. So I think my interest in cinema probably informs my work because of a long love of cinema. And part of the trick with our clips is they may look a little more expensive than they are, and that's just you know, tricks of the trade maybe I have learned from being around films, but they are important to us, not to every band. Some bands don't even need clips anymore, but for us they are a way to say something about the songs, about the albums, about ourselves, and they've been a very important part of our journey. So whether it's going to the People's Republic of China or going to the Arctic and shooting on icebergs and glaciers, I thought I may be able to get the time together to shoot to shoot here, shoot a clip. That would have been great. I think that we have a pretty deep connection with our audience around the world, and they seem to be very similar to each other from place to place we go. And it's for a long time it was very few people knew about the band. But they had a very deep passion for it. So we knew something special was happening. And as we've grown and more people have found out about the band, it still seems like it's the sort of thing where people either love it 1,000% or they just don't understand at all. And we kind of like it that way.
How is your relationship with the first album?
Times, yeah. I mean, the first record is very different, and obviously you're a weirdo, if you know it. Like me, yes. And if you know the first album, then you're strange. But it was a very specific record, and it'll always be really special for us. We don't have any regrets about that record. It was wonderful. I think this new album relates to the first record in a lot of ways, whereas the second record kind of destroyed the first. This album, I think, resurrected some of the elements of the first album, and the idea of having a very thematic record, a record that was a self-contained world. This certainly fits in that way, and I think feels like a third in a trilogy to me.
You said that this is the end of a trilogy. Is the next album going to be the first chapter of something totally new?
It could be, if there is a next record, who knows?
Yeah, first we have to decide to make one.
We're
still thinking about it.
There's very little time to think about that these days. We've been very fortunate. It's been a pretty incredible ride, and at the same time, it's not like it's been an explosion. It's not like this record came out and sold millions of copies around the world. It's been a slow, steady grind, but a really wonderful one as well. And we're kind of in the midst of celebration. These past couple of weeks, we had a single go #1. We had 4 MTV Award nominations in the States, and we have, what is our biggest tour to date, virtually sold out for later this year, which is, really, really things that we're incredibly thankful for. It's tough. The business of music is tough. In some ways, it was a canary in the coal mine for this whole financial crisis. It was a business for the past how many ever years has been shrinking 20 to 30% a year. So the business of making music is very difficult. But at the same time, it's always it's still a wonderful time for music.
What are your favorite bands?
I like bands like The Cure, Depeche Mode, and Zeppelin, The Police, a lot of classic bands.
Yeah, we all pretty much have the same taste as far as that goes.
Yeah, I mean, he listens to some
I'm a metalhead.
Some music that I don't listen to, some heavier music. Shannon's been listening to some electronic music, and I don't tend to listen to a lot of music. I make music a lot, so I don't tend to listen to it very often. It's kind of strange, to tell you the truth. I have 3 or 4 iPods and I never use them.
It's not that strange.
Do you need one? I should give them away. Because they're useless after 6 months anyway. There's always a new one, right?
Yeah.
God, they got us by the balls. Enjoy the heat. Thank you for the time. Everyone's invited to come to the show. If you need a ticket, just we'll put your name on the list and you can be our guests at the show. Everyone's invited to come. It's going to be a lot of fun and really crazy. And we are off now in search for some hummus and some really good food.
Go south.
That place down there.
Jaffa.
Yeah.